So today our main topic is going to be surrounding around water heaters, okay? And we're going to talk a lot about different types of water heaters, the pluses, the minuses, the efficiencies, the cost to own, the cost to purchase, all that kind of stuff. And when we get into talking about water heaters, the first thing we're going to do is identify what a water heater is, okay? A water heater isn't required to be 75 gallons tank in your basement, okay? A water heater could be as simple as a little coffee water heater underneath your kitchen counter that heats up water for your coffee or tea or whatever, you know? Water heaters come in all different shapes, all different sizes. If you go into your Hobby Lobby or something like that, they're going to have a little, 6-gallon water heater underneath the sink just for using it at the sink and stuff, They come in all different shapes, sizes, types, and when it comes to the water heater in your residential home, that is what we're going to really be talking about today. We're not going to talk about all those little ones, and yes, we do know that there's an electric tankless water heater that some business has underneath the sink someplace, but you're not going to put an electric tankless water heater in your home. Okay, it wouldn't make sense. All right, I don't even make one large enough for that.
Yeah, not that I've seen yet.
Yeah, electric tankless water heater is going to be a little tiny guy. It's going to be about that big, okay, and it's going to be underneath the sink at a business or something like that. Now, as far as water heaters go, the most common one out there is going to be your gas tanked water heater. Conventional efficiency gas tanked water heater. You go down in the basement, there's a tank, there's a metal pipe flue coming up out of it, and there's a gas line running to it, okay? That's going to be the most common here in the United States. Here in the United States, we're talking. Second, most common is going to be your electric tanked water heater. So it's basically two electric elements, heating up the water and pushing it out to the rest of the house, where a gas water heater's got a burner on the bottom, heating up the bottom of the water heater. And it's even got an exhaust baffle that goes up through the middle that kind of heats a little bit of water in the middle and stuff, makes it a little bit more efficient. And then when you get into stuff outside of that, there's lots of different options, but they're not significant players in the marketplace as far in comparison to electric water heaters and gas water heaters. So those are the two biggies. And most of you, probably 90% of you out there listening, are going to see something in your basement that's going to be either an electric tanked water heater or some version of a gas tanked water heater, where you're holding 40, 50, 60, 75 gallons, 80 gallons of hot water heater, of hot water in your basement at any given time. Now, the problem that you have with these tanked water heaters is that they run all the time. Yeah.
You're constantly heating the 80 gallons of water.
Yeah, whether you're at home, not home, whatever. And you're spending money to heat water that you're not going to use. Because by the time you get home, that water had to be reheated probably 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a day. Okay, no matter how much insulation you put in the water heater. It's just what happens, And so you're paying for all of that energy usage, okay? And when it comes to efficiencies, gas and electric water heaters are efficient. They do their job. Electric water heater, by the UE factor, which is kind of like a figuring of, if you put in 1 unit of energy, 0.9 of it goes into the hot water with an electric water heater. When you're talking about a gas water heater, you're going to be around 0.6. And when you get into other units, it's going to be right around that 0.6 to 0.8, unless you get into heat pumps, which are going to be a huge payback, which is like a 4 point something, but when we talk about tanked and water heaters, the cost wise, you're talking about electric water heater around probably $800, $1,000 installed. Yeah. When you're talking about a gas water heater, if you're going with a conventional efficiency, you're talking about $1,000, $1,100. Power vented, you're talking in that $1,200 to $1,300 range. You can find somebody that's going to charge more. You might be able to find somebody who charges less. We're not going to, dicker about those expenses, and quality has something to do with the water heater.
Oh yeah,
who you're paying to do the work, right? That all matters. What kind do you got at your house?
We have a high efficient. I don't know what brand mine is.
No.
I think it's I don't even know actually. Yeah, I'm blanking. I don't know.
Yeah, we got a Bradford White downstairs. Horsham Mill put it in for us a while back, and
ours came when we built our house. I'm not sure whatever.
No,
I want to say, I don't know. I want to say A.O. Smith, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the thing to understand too is that there's changes happening in the water heater market, and things are in 10 years, 15 years, the water heater landscape in the United States is going to look dramatically different. So when it comes time to looking at replacing your water heater, you're going to have a lot more options than you ever had before. Up until the 90s, tanked electric and gas was it.
Yep.
That was it. There was a few outliers with some solar heaters and some condensing water heaters and things like that, but there was so few of them. Like we would never see them. Today we're seeing people look at all kinds of different options because we're understanding more about our energy usage and the cost associated with that energy usage. So when you're looking at a tanked and electric or gas, whatever you want to look at, you're talking about $4,000 to $5,000 to operate that water heater for the year. Okay, there's cheaper, better options as far as the efficiencies and expenses and things like that. And when we are looking at those options, probably the front runner as far as ultimate efficiency, heat pump water heater. However, much more expensive to purchase up front, okay? But you're talking about a unit that instead of being 50% or 60% efficient, you're talking about a unit that's going to be, 400% efficient? And the efficiency with that as far as expense to cost to operate, with a tank, basically it's a tanked electric backup heat pump water heater. So we have a heat pump water heater which draws energy from the air around it in the basement or in the garage, wherever it may be, and it heats the water, but it heats it slowly. Okay, now if you have a big draw, there's an electric backup on there that's going to kick in and heat up the water faster for you, but you're losing efficiency with that then. But if you put basically $1 or 1 unit of energy into a heat pump water heater, you get 4 units of output instead of 0.6. Which is a big difference, So when we're looking at keeping the tanked environment that we have in water heaters today, I think heat pumps are the way to go. However, the whole rest of the world has different ideas. Yeah. Right? I mean, they're using tankless water heaters.
I would say Europe is all about tankless, isn't it, over there?
Yeah, tankless. They use also indirect a lot in Western Europe. They use a lot of indirect. So they have the boiler, and the boiler heats the registers in the home, but it also heats the water in the water heater and stuff. But like anywhere, if you're talking about Eastern Europe, Asia, Russia, you're looking at tankless water heaters, where they're not storing hot water all the time. They're even using point of use stuff. So like if you're in the bathroom in Taiwan, okay, they may have a little water heater right on the wall, right next to the shower, and that is what's providing the hot water for the shower. And it's just a little tiny,
they also don't have
water heater.
The space to put 80-gallon tanks, right?
That's true too. Yeah. I mean, here in America, our homes generally are much larger. Yeah. And it's not in Western Europe, if you have a big home, you're somebody big. You're a big deal. Here in Wisconsin, if you got 1,500 square feet, you're not that big of a deal, But
standard size home.
That's a standard size home. But 1,500 square feet in England, holy cow, you're a rich guy, So it's just a different thing, But when it comes to the water heaters, lots and lots of different options out there. As far as the water heaters go, tankless water heaters, combination units, which are basically using 2 heating sources. So like your solar and your wood burning, like somebody has a wood burner outside, they can heat up a glycol product that gets pushed around the water heater that heats up the water that's in there. It doesn't contact it at all. Can't have any cross connections, but combination units, hybrid heat pump water heaters are an option. Solar water heaters, condensing water heaters, point of use, wood burning, all that kind of stuff. Lots of options out there as far as water heaters go. So as far as water heaters go, okay, electric heat pump, tanked electric, tanked gas, and gas tankless are going to be some of our most common water heaters we're going to see. And this chart kind of really shows the efficiency of these different units. So if we're looking at an electric heat pump water heater, your initial cost is about $1,400 to $3,000. Now there are lots of rebates that you can get for heat pump water heaters, right? Through Focus on Energy Star, lots of different options there. But they're basically a government rebate that you get on your taxes and stuff. Okay, if you're looking at a tanked electric water heater, you could, the most expensive one I think might be $1,200. But if you're paying $1,200 for an electric water heater, that's a steep cost. Tanked gas water heater, what we're looking at there is going to be around that $1,000 to $1,500 range installed. You can go to Home Depot and buy one for $700-800, but you got to know what you're doing to install the thing. And then tankless water heaters, a little bit more expensive to purchase up front. There are some lingering rebates on these guys, but not much anymore. They used to be hot. Like there was a lot of rebates to go tankless before heat pump stuff came out. But then we developed heat pump water heater technology, and I mean, it blew the socks off of tankless.
Yeah, I think too. I mean, there's like a lot of stigma, I think, with these. At least what I heard with like tankless is that people were buying them and they were breaking within a couple of years because you have to maintain them differently than like a tank water heater.
You got to maintain them.
I think
for sure. But that was, I think, early on in the when a lot of the water heater manufacturers like A.O. Smith and Bosch and some of these other guys were just looking to get into the market as far as tankless water heaters, and making them viable in the U.S. market. And they made changes. And whenever you change something, whether it's changing the F-150 or changing a bike design or whatever, there's going to be some glitches when you first start. What's important with the water heater is understanding that you buy a good quality water heater. If it's a tank water heater, you should plan to get 12, 15 years of life out of it. That's reasonable. Manufacturers are going to say 8 to 10. Sometimes if you have bad water or you get a bad unit or something like that, it might go before that.
It's going down as the years go on.
Yeah. Yep. But when you're looking at purchasing it, the unit's going to be in your house for a long time. So being more concerned about the efficiency and stuff is important. So when you look at the annual fuel cost, you're talking about what does it cost me to operate this thing throughout the year, okay? And in a heat pump situation, you're looking at about $100 to $160 for an electric water heater. The most expensive to operate, probably 2 to 3 times what everything else is, because heating anything with electricity is incredibly expensive. And it's basically, if you look at a unit of energy versus a unit of energy, the cost for electric unit of energy is very high right now here in the U.S. Gas is still very, very cheap. Is gas going to get more expensive? Probably. I mean, it's a fossil fuel.
The solar's coming.
Yeah, solar's coming on.
In hard, yeah. There's a lot of rebates on that, too.
Lots of options with that. And then when you get into the tanked water heater, you're talking about using natural gas or propane to operate it, and that's a $200 to $300 a year operation cost. And tankless water heaters, because they don't heat water all the time. They only heat it when you need it. Okay, so a tankless water heater basically flash heats the water and sends it out to the location. Some people with tankless water heaters think that it should be instantaneous water. It is not. It is just like your tank water heater, though. If you have a tank water heater down in the basement, all your pipes are cold between the tank water heater and the faucet you're trying to use. Same thing with a tankless water heater. Okay, so you're still going to have that 1 to 2 minute delay. With a tanked water heater, you could put on a circ pump or something like that, to have instant hot water, but that's an extra cost then. And you're heating now not only 50 gallons of hot water, you're probably heating like 75 gallons of hot water, When it talks about first hour recovery, these first hour recovery numbers are how quickly will the tank reheat. So when your wife takes a super long hot shower, not saying you do that, Tammy. If my wife takes a super long hot shower and you get in, how long is it going to take for me to get hot water back again? And as far as a heat pump water heater, 60 to 100 gallons, that's going to depend on how much of the electric elements are being used. And that's going to be in your first hour of recovery. An electric water heater takes about 55 to 72. Oh, wait. Yeah. You get 55 to 72 gallons of hot water in that first hour. And then with a tanked gas water heater, about that same range, that 60 to 85 is good. But with tankless, you could leave the hot water on for 2 years and it's still going to be kicking out hot water at whatever temperature you have it set at, which I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. So there's never going to be a cold shower. And when my kids were living in the house and everybody was getting up in the morning and going to school, guess who got the last shower of the day? That was this cat. So I had plenty of cold showers that day at those times. But with a tankless hot water heater, you won't have to deal with any of that. We have a jetted tub up in the bathroom. Yeah, that takes up the whole 50-gallon water heater that I have in the basement. With a tankless hot water heater, you know what? My water in my hot tub is getting a little cool. I'm going to put more hot water in. And you know what? You can just leave the hot water trickling on the whole time if you want to. It wastes water doing that, but you can refresh your hot water pretty quickly with that type of a system. Now, when it comes to the sizes of these water heaters, normally here in the U.S., you're going to look at anywhere between a 40 and 80 gallon hot water heater in your basement. Okay. Remember, if you have a tanked water heater and you have an 80 gallon tanked water heater, you're storing 80 gallons of hot water every day, all day, and you're reheating it over and over again while you're at work. And that comes at an expense. Okay. When you're talking about tankless, when we have a tanked water heater at our cabin up north. When I have to replace that thing, it's I'm going tankless. Yeah, because then I don't have to, the water heater I don't have to do anything with it. Yeah. I don't have to worry about turning the temperature down. it's not even going to produce any temperature unless I start asking for water. If there's a draw on the pressure, that's what turns it on. But as far as tankless goes, there is no limit to how much hot water you can generate. There is a limit as to how fast the hot water can get through the system, though. So it's going to be like rated in like gallons per minute or whatever. Most of them are going to be between 3 and 4 gallons a minute is what they're going to rate at. The bigger bigger it is, obviously, the more hot water you can produce in a given period of time. The UE factor. So these UE factors, I was looking this up last night because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So the numbers that we're getting here, a lot of them came from Matt Reisinger on the Village Show. I looked up Max, a plumber online. There's a whole bunch of places I went and looked up information to get these things. But as far as the UE factor goes, the UE factor is basically measuring the unit's efficiency. Okay, lots of times when I'm talking to people about efficiency, I'm like, okay, so let's think about efficiency in a practical way. So if you have $1 of gas and you're going to put it into this water heater, okay, if it's a gas water heater, okay, you're going to get 60 cents of heat out of it, okay? If we're talking about $1 of electricity, when you look at the UE factor up here, they're trying to say that you're going to get 90 cents of heat out of it, but that's not true because electric is so much more expensive. Yeah. So the reality of it is, if you put $1 of electricity into a water heater, you're only going to get like maybe 20 cents, 30 cents of heat out of that $1 of electricity. And it's just because electricity is so much more expensive here in the U.S. Now, as those costs with electricity we don't have to transfer the coal, and we switch over to solar and wind and some of these other options that are going to help us reduce our energy costs in the long run, because these are renewable resources that we don't have to cart in all this coal to burn and produce heat and steam. So these UE factors can be kind of deceiving, okay? But what it comes down to, what we're looking at with this is, if you're putting in a unit of energy, not $1, they're talking about a unit of energy. Yeah. Okay. So with a unit of energy with electricity, they consider 12 kilowatts a unit of energy. When it comes to gas or oil or any of these other types of things, they're talking about a amount that they're identifying as a unit of energy. So when you put in 1 unit of energy, how efficiently is that unit of energy being used? And that's where these UE factors and stuff come in. So lots of different people have different ideas about that all. It is a science, but it's not a science. And that, just like anything, if you want to get a study about this, you can go out and find one. You want to get a study that contradicts that, you can go out and find one. It's just that everybody's got a little bit different opinions about it. So the UE factor is, I guess, wouldn't be what I would look at if I'm looking at purchasing a water heater, but it's on the energy guide label, with that energy usage label on the front of the machine or whatever. They're going to list that there. Yeah. And that's basically trying to tell you or skew you in one way or the other as to which is going to be the best option for you as far as efficiency. I think a better thing to look at for this is your overall 13-year cost. So the average water heater, tanked water heater, is going to last about 13 years. And as far as 13-year cost to own water heater, you're looking at about $4,000 for an electric heat pump water heater. Okay, so that's the purchase price plus operation for 13 years. The tanked water heater, and lowest initial upfront cost, cheapest water heater you can go out and buy is an electric tanked water heater. However, after 13 years, it's going to cost you almost $2,500 more than a heat pump water heater, which is double the cost initially. So if you are only going to be there for a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years, maybe the electric makes sense. Or if it's a rental property, you're not paying the bill, right? But if it's something where you're going to live there at that house for 5-7 years, I wouldn't go with an electric tanked water heater. I'd look into the heat pump option, because if you look across the board here, you can go heat pump or you can go tankless and still be in a good cost to own over 13 years. The gas tankless, you're going to have $4,900. Obviously these are dependent on how much water you use and all these types of things, but they're talking. What they use for the energy guide label is just an average household usage, and they try to make that the same across the board. But your gas tanked water heater, still $1,500 cheaper than electric. So still a better option than electric water heater. So
yeah.
Now, when it comes to water heaters, there's lots and lots of rebates out there. You can go to A lot of different sites. We're going to put a link down in the bottom of this video where you can go and click on it and find out if there's any rebates for water heaters that you might be interested in. But lots and lots of rebates out there for different types of water heaters, and it's basically a federal tax rebate. You can also go to Focus on Energy, and you can actually buy water heaters at Focus on Energy. Yeah, they actually sell water heaters there, and they have instant rebates and stuff, so you don't have to apply for tax credits. It automatically comes right off the top, nice. Which is kind of cool. Yeah. Go to Focus Energy, go to Energy Star, go to other places. There's a link down below that you can get some good stuff as far as your energy rebates for buying something that's more efficient. And it's going to save the electrical usage and gas usage here in the United States. All right. Now, when it comes to sizing a water heater, generally speaking, if you're talking to a plumber, they're going to size your water heater based on what?
How many people in the house?
How many people in the house? How many bedrooms you got is a common factor, And if you're talking about a 3 or 4 bedroom home, 50-gallon water heater should be sufficient,
Yeah, I don't think I see anything under 50 anymore being put in houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time that we see the big behemoths are usually when we have a lot of bedrooms or whirlpool tubs. Yeah. Because if you only have 50 gallons of hot water, your whirlpool tub's going to take all of that.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and you may be even left wanting more,
Yeah.
So that's when they put in those 80-gallon hot water heaters. Or I've even gone to 2,000 square foot homes that have a big old whirlpool tub, but they put 2 water heaters in the basement.
Yep.
I'm like, so you're heating 100 gallons of hot water all day, every day, because you're going to use your hot tub twice a year.
Yeah, they don't get used very often.
They don't get used very often. Every time I turn them on, they just start kicking out yuck
mildew
and smush. Yeah, because people
Yep.
don't use them and they don't clean them. They don't maintain them.
Yep.
We got to do an episode on that sometime. But holy cow, when you're talking about storing 100 gallons of hot water every day, all day, reheating it over and over and over again, how much energy and money are you wasting? I mean, it's just insane. So, yeah, there's lots of different options out there, but sizing your water heater appropriately for your needs is the way to go. If you're going to look into any water heater and looking at replacing your water heater, a heat pump water heater or a tankless water heater is definitely the way to go. It's going to be cheaper for you in the long run. You got to get over the sticker shock in the beginning, okay? Yes, you're going to spend an extra $1,000, but you're going to save $1,000, $2,000 in the long run over to that gas water heater you want to buy and put in your home, okay? Now, the problem that people have with water heaters is that they don't replace their water heater until it leaks or stops working. And at that point, you're in panic mode, right? You are going to call up a plumber, get whoever you can over there, and you're going to get that thing replaced as quickly as possible with whatever the heck that guy's got in the back of his truck.
Pay an emergency fee, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to, because you can't
live
without hot water. I mean, yes, cold showers are a thing, but they're not a fun thing. Okay, and so you need to get that done right away, and so you haven't got the time to go out and research and price and do all these other types of things. The thing that I would suggest, any plumber can put in any water heater. Okay, go out and buy whatever water heater you want to put in your home. Soon as your water heater is getting old. Okay, so if your water heater is 10 years old, go out and buy a water heater, bring it into the house, store it in the basement. That way, when it breaks,
you got one there.
You got one there. You can buy the water heater. You don't have to buy it from the plumber, because we know what the plumber's going to do. No offense to plumbers. They're gonna add on a transportation fee. They're going to say a product upcharge, you know. And so that $800 water heater you can go to Home Depot and buy, they're going to charge you $1,200 for the water heater plus installation. This way, you just call them up, and they don't have to worry about going to Home Depot or anything like that. You just say, I already have the water heater in my basement. I got a Bradford. I went out and bought a Bradford White, 50-gallon water heater or whatever, and it's in my basement, ready to go. Can't
you also decide to do a tankless at that point, or switch types of water heaters?
Yeah, you can get whatever you want. You know, you could do all that research and decide tankless is the way I want to go. I like that idea that Matt was talking about with limitless hot water. I can take as long a hot shower as I want on that cold January day when you get off the ice rink, and nobody's going to stop you, and nobody's going to be, walking in after you having to have a deal with a cold shower. So you don't feel that obligation to get out of the shower. And you can enjoy it a little bit longer. Taking care of it ahead of time, I think, is the smartest way to go. And as soon as your water heater is 10 years old, folks, you don't have a lot of time left, okay? Have Andy and I gone into homes and found, 50-year-old water heaters? Yeah, some of those old A.O. Smith,
the brown ones,
yeah, the brown ones, or those teal green ones, And those old A.O. Smith water heaters, man, they last forever. I mean, some of them look great still, you know. A.O. Smith water heaters manufactured here in Wisconsin. Well, a lot of them are manufactured in Wisconsin, but they're headquartered here in Wisconsin. And one of the best water heaters in the business. And they have converted over into the tankless market and stuff like that. Their products so far that I've seen have been pretty good, but they haven't been in it for long. You know, when you're looking at tankless water heaters, you know, one of the realtors that we work with up in Port Washington, Troy Brettel, he put a Tagaki water heater in his house probably 15 years ago. Thing is run like a champ.
I say the most tankless water heaters I see today in houses are not like American brands.
Yeah, they're shipped over from overseas. Yeah, because they've been doing tankless water heaters over there for the last 50 years. You know, so they've got the kinks worked out. Here in the U.S., if you're buying an American-made water heater, and don't get me wrong, I'm all about American-made, okay? It's just that we are new in the market and we're new in the manufacturing. And even though they have very good engineers, they have very good manufacturing processes, there's still a limitation to our capabilities at this time as far as tankless water heaters. The more we get into it, though, the more the prices are going to come down. Anytime you increase manufacturing and competition, prices drop. So the prices on tankless water heaters are going to come down. We need to improve the education of some of our plumbers out there that are anti-tankless. You know, that they're anti-tankless because that's not what they're used to putting in, and it's not as easy to put in, you know? Yep. When you talk about a tankless water heater, you got to put in not only the larger gas line, but you have to change the ventilation of the unit. You got to add in isolating valves so you can descale it once a year, and that kind of stuff. Plus, a tankless water heater is going to last 20 years. You know, on average, 20 to 30 years.
Those plumbers are losing money.
Yeah, if you maintain it. You know, if you maintain a tankless water heater, it's going to last 20 to 30 years. Instead of a tanked water heater, you know, 10 to 15, you know, it definitely is something to consider. Okay. Now the heat pump water heaters are relatively new. We do not know what the overall lifespan of them is going to be, whether it be the tank itself, which would still be an electric water heater. So 10 to 15 years. Okay. I think is the baseline that we're looking at. But when we get into the heat pump portion, which is the part on top, is that going to last long? Hard to say. I mean, essentially, it's an air conditioner on top of your water heater, and how long that lasts, it's hard to say. The guy inspected his house down the street here when we moved in. He had one of the new A.O. Smith heat pump water heaters. It was one of the first ones I saw, and they had some bad experiences with it. But A.O. Smith replaced it, and everything worked out fine and everything. But it's we don't know until you get to a product that's been on the market for 20, 30 years. You know, you're not going to really know its true functionality, lifespan, that kind of stuff. Yep. So, something to consider. Now, here in Wisconsin, almost all of our water heaters are going to be in our basements. Okay. Occasionally, if you have a condo with no basement, it'll be in a closet or something like that. When you're putting in the water, if you're putting in a tanked water heater, always ask the plumber to put a pan underneath it with a drain line going to a floor drain, so you don't get water all over your floor when that thing does leak, and it will leak eventually. Okay?
Sometimes you see those water alarms too on there.
Yeah, water alarms are good. I mean, for $7, you can get a water alarm and just put it right next to the water heater. When it starts leaking, it starts going crazy, and you are alerted to there's a problem instead before your whole house gets flooded out. You know, because when water heaters leak, you're not just leaking 50 gallons of hot water, you're leaking 50 gallons, and then the next 50 gallons because it just keeps refilling. You know, so it's definitely something to consider where you're putting the water heater. Now, when we look at down south, so if you're say south of Illinois, south of Tennessee, okay, their water heaters are going to be in their garage. They're going to be on the outside of their house. My brother-in-law lives in Texas, and I went down there to help him learn how to descale his water heater. Okay, electric. It's a tankless water heater on the outside of his house. That's fine, but as soon as they got some ice down there and they had some freezing temperatures, they had some issues.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. And that can lead to an issue. But generally speaking, down in Texas, you know, outside of your house, on the outside of your house, takes up less space, but in your garage might be a better idea. Tankless water heater, I mean, it's literally like this big. It's not that they're not very large. You can buy ones that are a little bit bigger, you know, and that's going to push more gallons per minute through. But tankless water heaters down south, there's a way that they go, generally speaking. Here in the U.S., tanked inner basement, tankless inner basement. With a tankless, you could put it in a hallway and things like that. So with a tankless water heater, you're not going to have the leak issue that you would with a tanked water heater, right? So I could put it in a closet upstairs and not gonna be a big thing. Not worry as much, because a tankless water heater, when it leaks, it only leaks while it's pushing water through, you know, and that's only while you're using it. If it's storing hot water, you know, that's a different story. The next thing, as far as the water heater goes, anode rods. Yeah, it's a sacrificial metal inside, and it's just
no one ever replaces it.
No one ever replaces them. They deteriorate. If you start getting smelly water,
water,
anode rod is something that needs to be replaced. Most of the time, when they try to go, they need to replace it, and they go to pull it out. It's so fragile it just breaks apart. Yeah. As far as the anode rod goes, it's meant to deteriorate after about 6-7 years. So you'd have to replace it twice. I was talking to one of the plumbers earlier this week, or whatever. He said, I just pull it out and cap it and do without it. It's going to start deteriorating the inside of the tank, and the tank is only designed to last 10-15 years anyways. So he's like, just pull it out and don't even worry about it. And then people talk about flushing the water heaters. They don't suggest flushing them anymore, even, it's because things are different with our glass-lined water heaters. And then they talk about descaling. Descaling is basically, so if you think of scale, it's calcium that's deposited on the inside of the unit from flash heating the water. The minerals come out of the water and clog up things, okay? So like your coffee maker, okay, you have to put vinegar through your coffee maker to clean it. Same type of thing. You're just descaling a coffee maker. In this case, you're descaling a water heater that's flash heating water, and in order to do that, you have to have some isolating valves that will allow you to do that.
They make at-home kits you can do yourself, or otherwise you could pay.
There's so as far as the isolating valves go, you can see the red and blue handle there. That's where you would isolate the valves off, and you basically get a little pump and 3 gallons of white vinegar, and you have that circulate for an hour, and that cleans that all out, and it keeps it working well. If you do that, tanks, water heaters, 20 years. This one on the bottom here, this is a Renai. Renai is manufactured overseas, one of those ones.
I see those a lot.
They've been making them for a long time. So that is a good option there. And then when you get into water heaters, you can look at, different types of exhaust and things like that. I would always go with more high efficient. So you shouldn't have, I would love it if people didn't have to send up metal flues through their brand new house and put a hole in their roof. I'm like
8-foot pole sticking out the tire.
Yeah, and it's just, and then in the cold of Wisconsin, we get these ice globs on top of it. Then you're getting carbon monoxide pushed back in there. I mean, there's got to be a better
power
way.
vent's
the way to go. If you're gonna go with a gas tanked water heater, power vent, totally the way to go. Not only for carbon monoxide safety and stuff like that, but it's a little bit more efficient, and not that much more to buy it. That's water heaters, you guys. If you have any questions about water heaters or anything like that, hit us up. You can go on to our website, helpfulhomeinspector.com, and you can put in your questions and stuff. We'll be happy to come on and answer those for you next week. Andy, thanks for coming on today, man. I appreciate it. It was good to see you. Good luck with business. If you're looking for a home inspection, HSH property inspection, or builder inspections, you can't go wrong, people. We're here to help you guys out in any way that we can. Lots of videos out there. Podcast is going to be up on Monday. Remember, you guys, the better you take care of your house, the better it's going to take care of you in the long run. Have a good one.